Hello, this is my first Linked 11 video. So what Linked 11 is I take a random footballer, I then look at his career in terms of the achievements, the talent that that player had, and the stories, basically, the legacy or things that happened in the career that kind of made them a bit stand out. Rank them, each of those characteristics 1 to 10, multiply it by each other, give a total number for that player. Then I take out the player, I look at his previous clubs and pick a previous club he was at, look at that squad, look at a player and repeat to build a team. So try to get a goalkeeper, defender, midfielders and forwards, and then rank those each. So the first player that came to mind that inspired this idea was Denis Dragilersky. He was a forward, Argentinian forward on loan at Everton, in the 2011-12 season. I remember him coming in and him being, he's about 6'4", massive guy, kind of a hard-looking man. But I think he got 1 goal for Everton in 20 appearances. But that 1 goal was against Man City, and he is fondly remembered. So looking at his career, this is all through Wikipedia, great source of information. So a bit about him. He's still only 33 actually. He's probably way older, but his career was all in South America, bar a short period at Everton. So his achievements, I'm going to give him a 1 because from looking at his career, he was a joint top scorer in the Argentinian league in 2010. Didn't get any international caps. Talent 2, I give him 2 because I think he got that goal against Man City, but maybe a bit generous there. And stories, I give him a 6. So that gives him total score 12. The reason I give him a decent stories score was that he is fondly remembered by Everton, and I remembered him too, so it means something. So then looking at, I didn't know any of his clubs in Argentina, I didn't know any of the players, so I looked at the Everton team he was with in 2011-12, and he had some big players like Silva and Distan, Team Cahill, but a name that stood out was James McFadden. Good player, James McFadden, a Scottish international, scored a couple of famous goals for Scotland against Netherlands and France. Scored 15 and 48 actually, and he was part of the Birmingham team that won the League Cup against Arsenal. But he had some really bad injuries that kind of curtailed his career. Nearly got 50 caps for England. So achievements, I give him a 4. I think he achieved a decent amount. Talent 4 as well, and stories 5. I think because the legacy left, getting those big goals for Scotland, he's fondly remembered. So that gives him a score of 80. So decided to look at his time at Birmingham in the 2008-9 season, and I said, okay, I've got my 2 forwards in, I need to get some defenders, so I picked Stuart Parnaby, a bit of a steady player, didn't really stand out. He's part of that Birmingham team that also won the League Cup, but he also was part of the Middlesbrough team that did well in Europe, in the UEFA Cup. Got a couple of international or under 21 caps for England. So achievements, bearing that in mind, I give him a 4. Talent 2, I think he was just a really steady player. Stories 2. The reason I give him a 2 rather than 1 is, those, I'm sure Middlesbrough fans remember that team very well. So looking at that Borough team of 05-06 that he was part of as well, he's some big players there. Like George Boateng, he was a good player. Gets Mendieta, who scored the winning goal against Ireland in the 2002 penalty shootout, and he had the Ikubu, the Yak, but I would say to go for Emmanuel Pogatetz, the centre back. Things that I remember about Pogatetz was he absolutely crunched Rodrigo Posibon, United player, a young player, in the League Cup. And he's also, I remember reading, he slagged off Middlesbrough, the town itself, saying he's happy that he only has to go there once a week to play a match, not live in the place. So a little bit mean. On the field, he had a pretty good career. He got over 60 Austria caps, played in Europe and in the MLS as well. So give him a score for 4 of achievements. Talent 3, so some talent to get that amount of caps, and stories 5 just for what I've outlined. That gives him a score of 60. Looked at Pogatet's career then, and he's also had a short spell at West Ham in 13-14, when managed by Big Sam, who were in the Premier League at the time. So like, I need to get a goalkeeper in, so I went for Jussi Askalainen, ex-Bolton legend, Finnish international. Really good career. I mean, I remember him, obviously, as most people would, really good Premier League goalkeeper, almost 500 games for Bolton in the league. Top goalkeeper, I thought. Achievements, gave him a 5. I think main really for that was his long-term time in the Premier League. Talent 7, I thought. You know, he was definitely maybe top 5 goalkeeper in a certain time in the Premier League. Stories 3, so I gave him 105. Okay, so I've got my 2 forwards, got a right back, centre back, goalkeeper. Need something in midfield now. So I looked at the Bolton team in 02-03. Obviously that was Kevin Nolan, JJ Kocha. Those guys were part of the squad, but the name that kind of stood out to me, kind of throws you back, is Stig Tufting, the Danish hard man midfielder. Had a short spell at Bolton. I mean, his career on the pitch, you know, he did well for Denmark. He played Euro 96 and the 2 following World Cups. On the negative side, you know, spent some time in jail. A really tragic story actually as well, that he was 13, he came home to find both parents dead. And he also served time for headbutting the owner of a cafe. It was actually after the celebrations of the 2002 World Cup. So, I mean, a bit of a journeyman in terms of, you know, looking at his Wikipedia page, he played for a lot of clubs for short spells. I'm sorry that the achievement wise, I'm giving him a 4. Talent 2, I think it was, I mean, Barron's crunching people. I'm sure he must have had obviously talent, like, but again, a bit before my time. And Story 7, is, you know, what I've said there. So before Bolton, he was at Hamburg in Germany, and in the 01-02 season, and looking at that squad, a name that kind of popped out to me was George Alberts, the winger. Played well for Rangers, and he won 3 SPLs and also had a couple of German caps. And he just had like a really, like, you see those clips of, you know, him banging goals in Rangers, and he got like a serious left peg. So achievements 5, talent 6. Looking at, I think he had like 40, maybe 50 goals and 150 appearances. Serious going. Talent, and stories 3. I suppose he's part of that good Rangers team, the late 90s under Dick Advocaat. So speaking of the Rangers team, looked at when he was there, 00-01 as well. So that era he was with them as well in that league. You had some good players that kind of stood out to me. He was Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. I always thought he was a good player. You know, short spell at Arsenal, 2 guy of, you know, Blackburn fame. But I went for a United player, an ex-United player, should I say. Andrei Kanchelskis, the Russian winger. To be honest, he was a bit before my time of supporting United. But I mean, you can look on YouTube, you see those famous clips of him, you know, standing on the ball, and look at his career as well. You know, he won a couple of Premier League titles, and he also won the Sir Matt Busby Award in 94-95. Just to read out something, and he also played for Everton as well. He did pretty good at Everton. So he won leagues in Scotland and England. There's a quote here to read out that was in Fergie's autobiography, Managing My Life. He alleged he was offered 40k bribery to sell Kanchelskis. When this was refused, he claimed that death threats were made by a Russian agent to Martin Edwards, the chairman of United. At the time, there was no suggestion that Kanchelskis or Everton were aware of the bribe or threats. I never heard that before, so that's interesting enough. So achievements 5, I given him 6 for talent and 5 for stories. So then looking at the United team that he played with, going way back to the early days, 91-92 season, I went for Dennis Irwin. Love Dennis Irwin. Obviously Irish international, great United player, won it all at the club level, played the World Cups, like great free kick taker, corner kicks, all that. Like, he was excellent. And also that clip in Looking for Eric, you know, and Eric Cantona says, you know, when you trust a teammate, and that pass from Erwin. Brilliant at left back and right back, and I've shoehorned him in at left back, and not shoehorned him in, put him in at left back of this team. So achievements, the biggest score so far, 9. 7 for talent, because he was, you know, referred to as Mr. 6 or Mr. 7 out of 10. Stories 2, because he was nothing, you know, he did his bit and did it well. Because he was actually a Wolves fan. So at the end of his career, he joined Wolves a couple of seasons. And looking at that time, he was at Wolves, so was another ex-United man, was Paul Ince. So Ince, the governor, as he was called, over 50 England caps, played at United, in Italy, Liverpool, but like, it kind of, his time at United was soured a bit, and he was sold off by Fergie. So I think achievements, I think he could achieve more if he stuck at United, or, you know, and so I give him a 6. Talent wise, 7. Again, a little bit before my time, but from what you see and read, you know, he was a good, very good centre midfielder. Stories, 6. You know, he does a lot of talking in the media these days now as well, so he's got an opinion. So that gives him a score of 2.52. So then when you look at I'd decide to look at his time in Italy and the Inter team '97, and a player who was a fantastic player, the last player in this 11, and I am shoehorning him in. He's not I don't think he's exactly a centre back, but he's going in the team. Is Zanetti. The man who lifted the 2010 Champions League under Mourinho, and also obviously played brilliantly for Argentina for a very long period of time. Right back, defensive centre midfield, like Erwin, you know, won it all, bar probably an international, you know, the World Cup. So give him a 9. Talent wise, I think he was class. Gets the highest rating in this list of 8. Stories 2. You know, nothing negative about what I've seen anyway, and just obviously a storied career. That gives him a total of 144. So just to recap, the 11 from position wise, in goal you've got Jaskalainen, right back Parnaby, left back Erwin, centre backs of Zanetti and Pogatetz, right midfield Kanchelskis, left wing George Alberts, centre midfield of Stig Tufting and Ince, and up top the man who started it all, Stragolewski, with James McFadden. So there you go. That's the first linked 11. You know, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. Maybe another one sometime soon. Take care.